Hi, my name is Andrea. I will be refuting Keith's claim of fact speech. His topic was video games, and his proposition was video games are beneficial in many ways. His secondary claims, the first one was video games help people perform well in school. His second secondary claim was video games enhances mental functions of players. And his third secondary claim is video games keep people connected in an increasingly disconnecting world. So for his first secondary claim, again, was video games help people perform well in school. He stated, video games improve problem-solving skills because it requires patience and split-second decisions. That was all that he said. That was just a hypothetical. There was no real evidence to support this claim, so it was easily diminished. I actually did find evidence from Business Insider claims. Research from North Carolina State University and Florida State University suggests that mainstream games geared toward entertainment can help improve attention and problem-solving abilities in the classroom. With this information that I use, this argument is relevant, but since he did not provide any data, it's easily false and irrelevant. His next supporting idea was that video game enhances creativity. His only example was Minecraft. This is a personal example and a hypothetical. Again, easily diminished. I actually did find data again from the Michigan State University. A psychology professor, Linda Jackson, said that a study of nearly 500 12-year-olds found that the more kids played video games, the more creative they were in tasks such as drawing pictures and writing stories. So his ideas were clear, but there was no evidence to support it, so his secondary claim was just false. His second secondary claim, again, was video games enhances mental functions of players. He said that it improves coordination, and that was it. So again, just a hypothetical, no evidence to support it, so easily diminished. I found from the Medical Daily that playing video games requires a high level of attention and hand-eye coordination. So the part of the brain that looks after attention span and hand-eye coordination is able to communicate better. So that does support the claim, but since he did not provide any data, it's false and irrelevant. Another point that he made was that it improves attention and concentration for long periods of time. His only example was Mario, which I assume is Mario Kart. He's trying to explain that since you play for a long time, you're focused on one thing and your attention is on one thing, so it helps your attention span, I guess. I actually found from Science Daily's series of studies that this shows that response learners show those players using their brain's autopilot and reward system to navigate experience gray matter loss in their hippocampus after playing action video games for 90 hours. So this is obviously very harmful. The hippocampus is a key factor to your memory and your autobiographical events in your brain, so you can have memory loss. And then his third claim, again, was video games keep people connected in an increasingly disconnecting world. He said that it allows for cooperation between fellow players and strengthens the ability to work within a group. His example was League of Legends. I thought this was a good claim. It just, again, did not provide personal examples. There was no proof, so it was no longer credible. And also, this claim kind of would have been more useful in the first secondary claim, which was that it helps perform well in school, because he's stating that you can work well with others and you can ability to work within a group. So I felt like this was just irrelevant to the third claim that he's trying to present. Another supporting idea he used was it allows for the creation of meaningful relationships with people in different parts of the world. His example was himself, that he made a friend from in another state using video games that he would never meet in real life. Again, just a personal example. He's just restating his secondary claim, just in different words, which was people connected in an increasingly disconnecting world, and he just said he makes meaningful relationships with people in different parts of the world. It's pretty much just restating the same thing. I actually found from Pew Research Center that more than half of teens have made new friends online, and a third of them say they met their new friend or friends while playing video games. using data like I have could have benefited his argument a lot and made it credible, but since he didn't, it was not credible. He also stated at the end counter-arguments, which I didn't really get why he stated at the end. It didn't make his argument useful or relevant. I felt like it should have been stated at the intro and then stated his secondary claims to kind of back up his argument. In conclusion, I believe Keith's argument that video games are beneficial in many ways is very broad, and it could have been a more convincing argument with substantial evidence and data. And without that argument, his argument was not credible. Thank you.
All right, I think that you are doing something that's more of a critique than it is a refutation. And it would be problematic in a lot of examples and circumstances that I'm just going to give the basic example here. If you were the defense attorney in a criminal case and you stood up and said, the prosecution failed to provide any physical evidence that showed that my client was guilty. Here's a fingerprint that shows that they were at the scene of the crime. Here's a video that shows that they shot the person. And here is fiber evidence that shows that they were in contact with the person there. So you can't believe what the prosecution says because there's all this evidence that proves my client is guilty that they didn't present. Now let me go to the next argument. You would be disbarred. I mean, basically, you're proving the advocate's argument for them. 90% of your argument is, here's evidence that proves my advocate's claim that the advocate didn't present on their own. That's not a refutation. That's like you're his partner and you're given the second speech in favor of the position. The one place where you had a specific piece of information that addressed this issue was on the second point that said the long-term play destroys the gray matter of the brain. That one, that counters the argument there. Everything else, it doesn't make it irrelevant. It just means you've proven the point that he didn't prove. So it's not really a response to the argument. I think there are probably good responses to these arguments that you're missing. For instance, on the first point, it says help school performance. So you mentioned, for example, a couple of studies that document this, that the advocate could have used. Let's imagine that you didn't present evidence to support the advocate's claim. What evidence is out there that could deny this claim? Well, let me see. Video games started becoming prominent in the 1980s, and they have become more and more widely used. How's our academic performance since the 1980s been going? Do we have more people who are getting higher grades? Have test scores gone up? Are people finishing college faster? Are they better prepared when they get to colleges and universities than they were before? I think you'd find that there's a lot of evidence that suggests the opposite has been happening, that we have fewer people who are prepared for college when they get there because they didn't apply themselves. They spent their time doing other things. I wonder what other things they spent their time doing. There it is. That's the big elephant in the room. They spent their time, instead of learning math or being able to write or reading critically and doing the kinds of things that you need to succeed in an academic environment, they've done things that might be good for physical manipulation if you're looking for a career as a video game player, or the ability to anticipate the artificial intelligence of a video game and figure out what patterns there are and try to beat those patterns. But how is that applicable or useful in the real world? I think that would be maybe the place to maybe develop some arguments on. Having said that, it was nice that you went out and found some evidence. So you do have good evidence. The problem is that the evidence is going in the wrong direction for your claims, and I think that that's a little bit problematic. It's nicely presented and organized. It follows the structure there, so there are good components of it. That you're kind of missing the point of the refutation. Instead of denying the claim, you're actually proving the claim, and that's like shooting yourself in the foot. It doesn't really help you. All right, thank you.